and look in there. That is a proper steak bake. Hi everyone, welcome to Backyard Chef. I'm Rick. Today we are doing one of the easiest recipes, and it far supersedes anything you can buy in the shops. However, we are using shop bought puff pastry. In here I have some what they call stewing beef or chuck roll, anything like that. And we are going to cook that and we are going to make steak bakes. Okay, nice and easy, straightforward. Let's get on and get it done. It's a quick recipe. We don't do anything after it's already prepped because we're using store-bought pastry. In there, butter. Now you don't have to use butter, you could use oil, you could use olive oil. So I'll put a little bit of oil in. I want a flame on. I'm going to be going in there with our onion. Now I've already fine diced this onion, as you can see. Talking about thyme, we are going in there with a pinch of dried thyme. Probably about a teaspoon, somewhere around about there. And we're going to cook that in there together. Now what's going to happen? The thyme is going to rehydrate as we are cooking those onions. Now we're not going to hang around for this too long. We're going to chuck the meat in a second. It doesn't matter about browning the onions, It's all going to cook for an hour and a half in the pan. So if it gets any colour on in a minute when we cook the beef, that's fine. You just need to keep it as simple as possible. In with our beef. Now I've cubed this up, they're quite big cubes, and what we'll do, if it's still got big cubes when we get round to making the steak bakes, we'll just pull them apart with a fork, it'll be that tender. So in we go, a little bit of colour on there if we can. It doesn't matter if you can't, because it's going to be cooked for an hour and a half and the colour is likely to come off. Chuck roll or stewing beef, fantastic for this. Good flavour in the meat, as long as it's slow cooked down, it's nice and tender. Okay, I'm just going to go in there with a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And this is tomato puree or tomato paste. So we're going with about a tablespoon. A little whiz. So you can see there's no hassle about this at all. It's nice and straightforward. Now you can put any herbs, flavourings in here that you so wish. You could put garlic in there, you could put bay leaves in there, you could put anything in, but the thyme is sufficient for this. So that's got a little bit of a cook on that tomato paste. This is 2 stock cubes in a lot of water. So just bring that up to the boil, and then we're going to turn it down for a simmer and put a lid on for an hour and a half. Or should I say an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how well the beef cooks. What we need to do is cook it so it's fork tender. We'll stick a fork in. Now you think there's quite a lot of fluid in there, but don't forget this is going to cook for an hour and a half. In that hour and a half we're just going to keep coming along, take the lid off, give it a little stir around, make sure it's not stuck on the bottom of the pan. It's as easy as that. And if the fluid evaporates and cooks down. Like, it will cook down to a certain extent. If it cooks down, do not add any more stock, add water. There is enough stock in here already. Okay, we've got that little ripple on there. We get a lid on and we cook it for an hour and a half with the occasional stir. Okay, we're getting a really nice thick gravy going on there, look. That is superb. The meat's taken down very nicely. I can feel with this spatula actually that it's done. If you want to thicken that a little bit more, just cook it with the lid off, let it evaporate out. Or you could actually just mix up some corn flour slurry and put that in. But that is really good, thick quality gravy with all that flavour from those onions and that meat. That looks sensational. That really does. That is lovely. Okay, I'm going to preheat my oven. Now, oven at home, you're going to be 180, 190, 360, 380 for about 20 minutes. I'm about 175 for about 20 minutes, but we'll just preheat it. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of corn flour slurry to this, just to thicken it up very quickly, because I want it to cool down a little bit before we make our pasties. So in here I've got corn flour and water, and we're just going to add a little bit, not all of it. Give that a stir in, and hopefully we should get a really thick, stodgy gravy clinging around all that meat for those pasties. So that for me is flame off. Now that's what I call a perfect filling for a steak bake. That is superb. Just look at that. Okay, we're going to let that cool down before we can make up our pasties. Okay, so like we said at the start of the video, we're using store-bought puff pastry. That makes this a heck of a lot easier. So quick, you know, it all just falls together. So I'm just going to go on there. I'm only going to make 3 up today. That's all I need. Now I have already got some egg wash there. We've got quite a decent amount of our filling there. So we should have some really nice steak bakes. So it's just a case now of loading up. I think we've got enough packed in there, don't you? Right, not a problem. So we've got a bit of this egg wash, and what we'll do is we'll just lightly round the outside of there. We don't want much, we just want a little bit of glue to stick our pastry. Over the top. Squash down. Over the top, squash down, and put that down there. And we have got a steak bake. Let's do the rest, and then we'll put the markings on, similar to the Great Store in the UK. Okay, so then we've got to be taking a fork and we have to go around the side of there, put the characteristic marks on that you see on the famous steak bake. Okay, now the characteristics of the famous steak bake are some diagonal lines across. So we're going to take a butter knife to do this. I don't want to try and come through, but I do want to mark. Now if it comes through, so be it. Okay, now we need vent holes in, and where you put the vent holes is actually in those lines we've drawn on there. So we want to be coming in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got to be egg washing this. So just egg wash them over. A nice little bit of egg wash on there. On it goes. And that goes in the oven. So that's in there. And that is on. And we are going to set that for 20 minutes. And then we shall have a look. There we have it. We can get those out. Oh yes, please. Just look at those. Proper steak bakes, just like the famous store in the UK. Now they look absolutely spot on. What we'd have to do, give them 5 minutes or so, and then we'll cut one open and have a look. Just look at those. Perfectly cooked. Right, all we need to do is cut a slice. Cut one in half. Let's have a look inside. Come on. And look in there. That is a proper steak bake. Oh, God blimey. Look at that in there. All that steak. Now we know what it's going to taste like, don't we? My mouth is really watering.